Welcome back, crafty friends. It's Diane, the Creative Inkster, and I am back for my second video for today, Saturday, September the 7th, and I'm featuring the Hang and Ornament bundle, which I think is a bit of a sleeper one in the catalog. You might zoom right by it on page 44 and not even give it a glance. It's on the left side, and you know, anything with marketing, with magazines and such, you don't want to be on the left side. All the good stuff is always on the right side. So I want to highlight this one and bring your attention to it because I think it's really versatile and cute and fun. So my previous project was an advent calendar. So if you want to go back up to the top and refresh, you'll find that video in there. I haven't put the link in yet, but I'm going to be doing that. I'm doing my back-to-back videos here at the top of the hour, so we'll get working on getting those in as I can. But this is the card that I made at 9 a.m. this morning, just to show how you can turn it into a card and how to do 4 of the segments. But my ornament, my advent calendar is actually 25 squares. But you can turn it into a card. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that. All right, my next project is still using Hang and Ornament because I love it. And we are flipping back to page 25 to incorporate some other product from Season of Elegance. This paper here is stunning. You get 12 sheets of double-sided pattern paper with gold accents, and there's some coordinating red and gold ribbon here, satin ribbon, and an embossing folder, and some other things. Now, I'm not using those. I'm just using the paper here, but I wanted to show it to you in real life. So you get 2 sheets of green with a little bit different patterns. Now, I only have this much left of one page because I've been using it quite a bit. But the back side looks a bit like it's painted, and then the front has the gold flecks in it. Here's the other pattern. They're very, very similar. And that is Old Olive and Mossy Meadow. And then this is the blue one. I really call it blue, but it's Pretty Peacock is the color, I believe, of this one here, and the back side of it. So, of course, with all the gold flecks, that's the side we're going to use, right? So you can use some stuff along the top from your 12 by 12 to maximize, and then keep this for, like, your really special projects. And then there's 2 versions of the beige as well. So here's how the different patterns look. This one is a little bit more open and airy, and this one's a little blotchier or larger flecks of gold, and that is what the green looks like in the full sheets. And the one that I'm using on my card for now is the Cherry Cobbler version. Yeah, I've cut off a little bit of the strip here. So what I've done to make my card ornament is I've cut off about a 2-inch strip from the top or the bottom and left this piece in here so that I can make some other projects with it. And then there's the back side of any scraps that you have left over to work with. All right, and I'm also using that Forever Plaid embossing folder on page 27, part of the Reindeer Days bundle that was featured yesterday. I like this because this embossing folder is not all perfect straight lines. They go a little bit like they're like they're drawn lines. They're not perfectly even, and I think that's great because you don't have to worry about lining it up straight. But if you do have an embossing folder and you do want to line it up straight, I have a little tip for you. I use the black line at the bottom of all the embossing folders. So on the side with the Stampin' Up! Logo, there's a black line, and I put my name on mine. And I just slide my paper right in there, and in so doing, then I know if I line it up against that black line that I'm going to get it straight. So not as important on this one, but some of the other ones like exposed brick and the other one I'm thinking of, oh goodness, is there's another one, and it'll come back to me. And you kind of, the cane weave, you do really want those to be straight. So that's a little tip for you. All right, so we're going to use this embossing folder, and let me show you the card I'm making. This will be a quick video. I'm going to use the Hang and Ornament stamp set and dies and actually cut the actual ornaments out. So they're like on a hinge thing for for having a cute little hiding feature to it, but we're actually going to die cut them out. Okay, so the tools I need, or the supplies that I need, are right in here. I've got a card base in shaded spruce, beautiful color green for the holidays, and it's going to really pop with this cherry cobbler. So I shared in my last video how you can, sometimes when you're scoring your cardstock, if you're like me and you're like really use your bone folder firmly, then you end up leaving a shiny line on here. Has that ever happened to anybody else, or is it just me? And so you can take a piece of cardstock, or as I have some leftover grid paper here, and just put that over the area where you're going to score, and then burnish rather, and then burnish this way. And then, I don't know if you can see it, but my burnishing shiny lines ends up on that, but not on my card. So that is a helpful tip I found just recently. All right, so as I usually do, I'm going to pop a piece of white onto the inside of my card. Oh, I'm seeing comments this time. I didn't see them last time live. Hi, Vicki. Thanks for being here with me. It's always good to know someone's out there when you're chatting it up. Here we go. I'm going to pop this piece of 4x5 1/4 to the inside. There we go. And I'm good to go. And then when this goes into my stash and is ready to be shared and sent out, I've already got my white on the inside. Oh, I was going to do some stamping. Forgot about that. All right, let me grab my block and my shaded spruce coordinating ink. And this little leaf here is the one I'm going to use just to add a little bit of interest on the inside of my card. I tried a couple of different things. I tried going all the way around, but I felt like I just really wanted it in one side. So I think actually I'll put it on the bottom this time. And I'll have them go a little higgly-piggly, which I've heard people say to me is kind of not really a word, but it's my word. I use it. It just means not straight and not even. Just a little bit here and there. Let's see if I can get two more, whoops-a-daisy, in here. See if I can get one more. Did you see that? I got ink all over me. There we go. It's never fun if you don't have inky hands. That means it's just like a skinny cook. Like, would you trust a skinny cook? Like, you want people to have really loved their trade. And so that's what I'm going for here. Got to have inky fingers at the end of a crafting session to prove that I actually did it. All right, let's get that out of the way. And we'll move the ink pad because I am notorious for dumping something in my ink pad by mistake. Oh, Mommy, you know what? Let's do our stamping next, and then we can put it away and call it a day. All right, so we have two versions of the ornament that we can use. I forget which one I used on the last one, but I think I'll use the one with that coordinating little leaf that I just put on the inside. My block. And when you're using your photopolymer stamps and you want to get them onto the block, it is easier if you put them on the table and pick them up from there. That way you're not trying to put it on with your hand and getting them a little off or getting a little bubble underneath them, that kind of thing. So this is just a scrap piece of paper so that I can die cut it out. I think it's 3x3 thereabouts. There we go. Then we're going to do some die cutting with a little bit of stamping to do in cherry cobbler. So let's clean the block and we'll get the All Is Merry piece ready to go. So in the stamp set there is All Is Merry and Just For You. I'm going to use All Is Merry. I've used both of them in different ways. So I'll put my stamp down there. Upside down, that's okay. And reach around and grab my cherry cobbler. For an alternating color. I was using it in my last video and had put it away. Here we go. And we're going to die cut this out, but I'm not convinced I'm going to have enough space to, oh sure I will. If we have to redo it, we have to redo it. Let's not waste any paper. So we're going to put this up here. There's my All Is Merry. I'm going to die cut that out too. You could hand cut it if you wanted. If you just got the stamp set, it would make a lovely stamp set on its own, but I do think you want to get the dies for all these fun extra bits that you can do with your bundle. Alrighty, now we're going to pull in. Gotta get that close in hand. I'm going to pull in the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine for my die cutting because I can. There we go. Sorry, it's going to wiggle a little bit, the camera. I apologize for that. Now my plates on this are really well loved. I probably haven't changed them in a very long time. And one of the tricks I learned long ago when I got mine was when you're trying to push it through, if they're lined up perfectly, it won't catch as well. You need to stagger ever so slightly the top and the bottom acrylic plates. That will just help it go through more smoothly. So what we need is the ornament die. Let's stick that on here. Now in my last video I showed you to stamp it, die cut it first and then stamp it out. And I'm doing the opposite right here right now. So let's see how that works out. I can always redo it. So I have staggered them a little bit here. And then we're going to get it going through. Here we go, hand on top. I like the mini one, having it handy for just these little projects at my desk. Okay, so that didn't turn out badly at all. I'm getting better at lining these guys up. And then I'm going to use this little rectangle that comes in the die set for my All Is Merry. And it does not look like it's going to cut it out. It looks like you're going to be cutting your words off a little bit there. Trust me, it works just great, she says as she puts it in and hopes that it doesn't shift on her. Here we go. Because as soon as you say that, right, you set yourself up for it. Alrighty, there we go. Turned out wonderfully. There's our little label. So we also need to cut out, for this card, the way that I've designed it, some gold foil. And I've put these on the top, and it was kind of an afterthought. I don't know why I don't plan these cards better. It's an afterthought to add them. The little hooks and the little, there's a special word for them, somebody will know, the little hooks and such. So what I find with foil is it's a very soft paper, and if you put it through a large piece, you're going to pick up all the scratchy pieces off your plate onto that. So I tend to cut smaller pieces out. So I'm going to run it through a few times. I'm only going to do 2 of this little piece here and 3 hooks. So let's get that together. Agreed. Yes, get them when they're bundled, save 10%, because you never know when they sell out. That could be very disappointing. I agree with you, Maureen. I know, Higgly Piggly, I don't know where it comes from, but I don't know if it's my background or what that is, the Higgly Piggly thing. But anyway, I've had one of my team members say she'd never heard the saying before. I don't know, maybe it was just in my family. So this is a little bit tedious because I'm going to be putting them all through individually on some tiny paper, but it's going to be worth it. We have this expression at work, is the juice worth the squeeze? So in an orange, if you're going to be doing some extra steps, it's really worth it if to do those extra steps. And sometimes it is, because gold foil, gold accents, definitely. We got a bunch of little die cutting little projects to get done here. Pull this card together. A nice thing to do when you're, I put a movie on often when I'm crafting in my craft room. I'll just like pop something on so that I'm kept amused and interested. And last night I watched a movie, The Perfect Couple, on Netflix with Nicole Kidman and Liv Schreiber, I think, was the main character. And I am not a huge Nicole Kidman fan, usually of her work, but she was great in this. It was quite an interesting one to watch. And so I would recommend that if you like a good mystery. And it was a, what do you call it, like a mini-series. And so I started really early in the evening and then just kept watching. It was fun. Juice worth the squeeze. I know. Gotta ask yourself, is this worth it? Most times life it's not. You know, just do your thing. But in this case, definitely. All right, so I'm cutting all these pieces out. I may or may not use them all, but we got them done. All right, so let's cut this last little sliver out. I think I got 2 more of these to do. And then, see how frugal I am? I don't want to waste anything. And then I've got to do some ornaments in that Season of Elegance paper. I love beautiful gold accented paper or silver, whatever we make available. Just pops, especially in the holidays. So 1, 2, one more of these guys. And I suppose I could put more than one thing through at a time, but doing that and talking and reading comments, that may be above my pay grade. So I need to focus. Focus on what you're doing, girl. Alrighty. What's the weather like where you are? Oh, okay, so the sun's out now, but before, in between these videos, it was pouring rain out there. Not nice at all. Good day to be inside crafting, let me just say. So now for these two, for these 2 ornaments, I've used the Season of Elegance paper. So I cut the top piece off, I think at about 2 inches, yeah. And so all that beautiful gold fleck stuff's in the middle. And I'm going to cut 2 of the ornaments out of this. 2 inches seems to be just enough. There's one. And we'll do a second one. I'm just going to cut it off here, and I'm going to show you how I pull them out afterwards. There you go. Are you maybe okay? So maybe 2 1/4 inches would have been smarter. I'm a little bit on the hairy edge there, but that's okay. So when you see these dies and bundles and suggested projects, sometimes in the catalog it doesn't show it to its fullest. That's what I love about this little activity of ours here, is that we're going to get into the product and give you some of our favorite tips with it. Okay, here we go with all our bits and pieces. So for the ornaments, they're on a hinge, and you can typically just twist it and it will tear out. And if you're really concerned, you can trim off those little bitty edges. I don't worry about that. It's going to be fine. Some of it's going to be hidden. And I didn't waste much of that beautiful paper at all. And then my white one here. Maybe get my scissors on that one. It tore the outside piece a wee bit. There we go. All right. Now, you know what would be cool would be to heat emboss this as well in gold. That would have been really cool as well. Alrighty, here is this one. And you can always cut an extra one. I have some extras in my case. So I don't buy the magnetic sheets that you get online from, say, Amazon or that. I get these from my local dollar store. They come 2 in a pack, and they fit perfectly in our case. And then the other side of it has a little flap in here, so I put extra bits when I cut extras out. I put them in there so I have them. So they're like $1.25 at Dollarama if you're in Canada, and they're just really handy for that. Alrighty, commercial over. But yes, you could put an extra one on the back for a little bit more stability. I don't know that that's necessary here. I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. There we go. And I feel like I might need to make a little sliver. Maybe what I'll use, I can just cut off the edge. because it's a very thin piece. So I'm just going to trim down this piece even more, because my paper snips are super sharp, and use that down the edge here. And we're going to pop the other piece up a little bit as well. Get our All Is Merry, that covers. Now I didn't do it on this one. Do I have? I don't think I have a piece that, oh I do, I have a cherry cobbler piece left over from before. Where did it go? I can like add another layer. Hold for this commercial message while we find that little piece of scrap that I had from earlier. Oh, thought I had it super handy. Okay, well let's just make one anyway. We're not done. We're not done die cutting yet. So there's that scallopy piece. What I'm trying to do is just add another little bit of layer there before I put that one, glue that greeting down. Which I did, but that's okay. I can show you a little trick for when I have my little oopsies as well. So when you put something down and you are like, oh, well that's not really what I intended, or it's not straight, grab your paper snips. See, there's a reason I had cut that in half. And slide them underneath and just cut off that piece. And then you can carefully get your nail underneath it, or your scissors, or take your pick tool and peel off that icky bit and the leftover residue. Especially if you do this right away, it's still a little bit workable. You can pull that off. No need to redo the ornament. Put that back so I don't lose it. And then now I'm going to glue this guy down. And let's give another little wee pop of color. There we go. I noticed when I was doing my ornament advent calendar, I was squishing rather hard and my glue was squishing out a wee bit. So I'm going to try and not do that on this one. There, and so it has a bit of a rounded edge on that die to line up nicely on the edge of the ornament piece. So now I have that little half bit that I had left over when I cut this dimensional piece in half. So there we go. It was all meant to be. And pop this on. I like this even more. All right, and so we have a little hole in the top here. I'm going to try and see how my fingers are with going through that. And I'm actually, oh yeah, shoot, I was going to do a double bow. I'm not actually going to feed it through this time. I'm going to do a double bow and put it on with a glue dot. I have my glue dots, where are they? Here they are. All right, I'm going to do a double bow. So I've got about 6 inches of ribbon of the twine. I've got 2 pieces of it together, and while it's together, I'm going to tie a bow. And that's how you do a double bow. I feel like I'm a professional bow tire. And this is going to go at the top. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller loops on my bow. And cut the ends so they're not too long and impeding the reading of my word. Now, this is where I went wrong when I did my original card. I didn't glue the gold pieces on ahead of time, and that would have made it easier for making sure they landed where I wanted them to. So that goes on there. So that's just a wee bit of liquid glue. And if you have a silicone craft sheet or something from your kitchen, grab it. Like a silicone, piece from your kitchen. We have them like, we sell this. It's great. I use it all the time. Perfect grade for all the different little things I'm going to use it for. You could use a folded over glue dot. That works too. I'm just going to use a little wee dab of liquid glue on there. I think actually I'm going to glue that little hook on first. And then I'm going to glue that on. Okay, I see what I'm going to do. I'm going to glue this on first. the little hooky piece. You know, if you have Christmas ornaments that you put on your tree with those hooks, and doesn't everybody have a little bin of those hooks? You get like 600 in a package at the dollar store, and then you never use them, but they clump together like hangers and such. It's just crazy how they get all hooked together. I think I want it to go this way. There we go. Well, that looks way better doing it this way, starting from the bottom up. And then I can put my little bow on with a glue dot. And I'm just going to fold it over a little bit. If you have the ones from the paper pumpkin, they're perfectly sized. They're small, and you get those in your paper pumpkin kits. But you can just fold the regular size mini glue dots over. And there we have our center one. And then for this one, we're just going to glue the hanger pieces on. I thought they had enough pizzazz with the gold flecked paper. Is anybody looking over at my sample and going, wait a minute, these little pieces, she put them on upside down? Because I think I did. I think that makes more sense. The whole idea of these, whatever these things are called, is that the scallopy edge goes on the bottom, and I think I put them upside down on this one. Now that I've shown it to you, you can't unsee it. Here we go. That's why we make sample cards, so we can go back and do a better job next time, or refine it, or add new layers. That gold really does add a lot to this card. All right, so I am done, not done with my glue, but I am done with my silicone craft sheet. Got my little elements here done, so let's pull the card base back in. I pre-embossed this with that Forever Plaid. And if you find some embossing folders, when they go through your machine, can at times tear your paper. That didn't happen here, but I do feel like the fibers have broken down. It can happen. If you're finding that you're having that problem, it's usually a calibration of your machine. Over time, they loosen up and are a little less tight between the rollers and the base. But what you can do is spritz your paper with water. So we have these little spritzers, two in a pack, and I write on there H2O only because I sometimes put other things in it like shimmer paints and such. And you can spritz your paper first, then while it's still a wee bit damp. Now we don't want it soaking, but we want it just a little bit wet. And you put that through your embossing folder. The paper is more pliable because it's been wet, and it dries, and then you can put it on your project and it's not gotten all cracked in some of the lines. So some of these more detailed embossing folders with lots of dimension, the 3D ones especially, can do that a little bit. That's an easy trick. I can think of another one besides, two rather in total that I've ever had that were like that, and I just knew that's what I had to do with it. Okay, so I'm going to glue that down. And when you have an embossing folder with lots of texture to it, you want to use liquid glue would be my recommendation for being able to get into the little nooks and crannies and ensure that it stays down. You can flip it over and give it a press from this side as well, but liquid glue is your friend that way. All right, let's put these pieces together. I glued down the cherry cobbler ones, and then put this one in the center popped up. Pretty easy design, I gotta say. Not a lot of reach in there, but packs a wallop, I think. I'll put a little bit of liquid glue. I know she looks a little precarious doing it right on top of the front of her card, right? But I'm fairly used to using my liquid glue, and it usually is quite cooperative. Here we go. We'll try to get it somewhat straight, or if you don't like, or you're worried about it not being straight, put them askew a little bit, and then it looks like it was supposed to be that way. Another way to do this card would have been in this orientation and put them across. That's another option. All right, so we're going to glue these right down, and again using liquid glue because I want this flat surface to get into the very ornate and raised areas of my embossing folder so they stay put. And then this cute one, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back. And then that'll be popped up nicely. And my card is done. Now this is one I think I could do a couple of. I'll air you a little bit more straight. I could do a bunch of to sell or give away or send to friends or whatever. I'm going to a craft fair in November, and so I'm thinking these would be nice ones to make up really quickly and using whatever paper you have. All right, so this is my card for the 10 o'clock presentation. I will be back with a third presentation in about 25 minutes or so with one more card and some other tricks and tips that you can use with this lovely bundle that I've really come to enjoy. So thanks for watching. I'll read all your comments and respond. Have a wonderful day and talk to you soon. Bye.